Tavis Smiley on the line with us, the host of the Tavis Smiley Show and Smiley and West with Dr. Cornel West, author of 16 books, his latest, The Rich and the Rest of Us, a Poverty Manifesto, and the work he's doing right now, looking at the Latino community and what's going on with immigration and this whole debate around immigration, the website, thelatinonation.com. Tavis Smiley, welcome back to the program.
Tom, always an honor to be on with you. How are you, my friend?
Just great. I hope you are well.
I'm doing the best I can.
Good. So tell me about this this new work that you're doing, or this new investigation, or how would you characterize it first of all?
Yeah, it's just our continuing effort to try to make sure that the suffering of fellow citizens is rendered visible as opposed to invisible, and certainly the Latino community growing in leaps and bounds in terms of political clout and political participation. That community's concerns ought to be taken seriously. When you get down to it, beyond the issue of immigration, which is, again, an issue that impacts all Americans, right, their concerns are the same as ours, and so I don't feel like I'm doing anything extra special. It's just that I've always, used my platforms on public television and public radio to try to raise questions that challenge us to re-examine our assumptions and expand our inventory of ideas and to see the world through a different prism. And I was really struck, as I suspect you were, by the fact that there will be no ban on assault weapons that's going to reach the Senate floor for a vote. And I'm still, I'm not naive, and neither are you. We know how this process works, but I'm still kind of spinning, Tom, after all the talk. Reminds me of my grandmother used to always say that when all has been said and done, more often stuff is said and not done. And so we're now not even going to have a vote. I can't imagine. I mean, put yourself back where you were. Go back to a few weeks ago after Sandy Hook, and just imagine now that the Democrats have decided, Harry Reid and others, that we're not even going to have a vote on this on the floor because we don't think we can get it through. Yeah. So as a result, I don't know what happens next, and we're not even sure that at this point, I'm not even sure if they're going to get through the centerpiece of the Obama legislation, which is, background checks and the like. I say all that to say, back to your question about Latinos, that some things that we perceive are foregone conclusions don't quite work out that way. Yeah. So we're not going to have an assault weapons ban this year, and now you talk about immigration reform. Is that really going to happen? Or might we look up in a few months in the Hispanic and Latino community realize that ain't going to happen either? The point is it's time to have a conversation not just about that issue, but all the issues that matter in their community as they're growing across the country by leaps and bounds.
Oh, I agree. You have a gig coming up in Chicago, don't you? Is it called Latino Nation Beyond the Numbers?
Saturday, April the 6th, and for those who are in the Chicago area, Saturday, April the 6th will be live at Chicago State University in the Jones Convocation Center for these symposia that I've become known for doing. There are two panels that day, one in the morning at 8:30, the other in the afternoon at about 1:30. So two panels. I think C-SPAN is taking it live all day. The following week on my TV show on PBS, we'll be broadcasting over 3 nights this conversation, so you can catch it live in Chicago, at Chicago State if you're there, or on C-SPAN, I think, the next week. Again, 3 nights on my PBS program. But we're coming there to have this conversation with a broad swath of leaders in the Latino community, in business and in labor, in government and in private industry, in the foundation and philanthropic community, to political activists. So a little bit of everybody's going to be involved in this conversation, the influencers and thought leaders, to really talk about where their community is, where this community is headed, how they maximize this particular moment, and why all of this matters to those of us who happen not to be Latino.
Yeah, and speaking of those of us who happen not to be Latino, I'm assuming that's you, and that's definitely me. and although I have Latino members of my family, and you may, I don't know, but
sure.
But the point is that a couple of years ago, this was actually a big deal meme being pushed by the right-wingers, the Republicans in particular, that there was conflict between the African-American community and the Latino community. Now, I haven't heard so much about that lately. I'm guessing that meme didn't fly so well. Right. But what is was there anything to that, or was this just trying to gin up some trouble? And what's going on?
There are always those who obviously want to divide and conquer on the one hand. On the other hand, the conflict and the tension between Black and Brown America is real. I know it's real because I sit right now in my hometown of Los Angeles in our school system. A couple of years ago, it was like every other day these Hispanic kids and Black kids were getting to it at school. Now, more often than not, they go to school and they get along and they're friends, etc. But there was something happening, something in the water a couple of years ago here in L.A. that these kids were drinking that had them at each other's throats, almost every day in school. So in the neighborhood that I sit right now in South Central Los Angeles, this area used to be exclusively African American, and as African Americans have left the area, Hispanics are coming into the area. And so you do in places like Chicago and in places like LA and beyond, you see, there are moments and pockets of black and brown tension, and I suspect that's going to be a part of our conversation as well. So we'll talk about the black and brown tension. We'll talk about the notion of assimilation and whether or not too many Latinos want to assimilate into the broader, make that white culture. We'll talk about education. We'll talk about foreign policy. We'll talk about all the issues. I think part of the problem is, and I feel sorry for my Latino friends in the sense that the things that matter to them, the broad, all the stuff on their docket, put it this way, Tom, the stuff on their docket can't ever really get addressed because the minute you say Latino or Hispanic, you think immigration.
Right.
And all these other things that matter to them, they never get a national platform to talk about those things. So again, I don't think I'm doing anybody any favors. It's the kind of stuff that I believe in doing, giving people a voice. But if I were a Latino leader, I'd be tired of, being boxed into a conversation exclusively about immigration.
Well, yeah, and we've seen that movie before. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King talked a lot about jobs, about social justice, about poverty, about the rights of workers, about the rights of white workers.
That's right.
And all of that stuff got just washed off by just the segregation, integration, civil rights.
Equally as important, as you'll recall, and this is part of what cost him his life, the minute that King moved out of that box, so to speak, of talking about racial politics and wanted to come out and did come out aggressively against the war in Vietnam, they told Martin, sit your black behind down and shut up. This is not your lane. You don't talk about U.S. foreign policy. You talk about race politics. That's the box we let you operate in. But once he moved out of that box, they came after Dr. King. And so the same thing, is happening to some Latino leaders now. When they want to raise other questions, they don't really get the kind of audience and attention that they deserve.
Yeah. Tavis, Smiley, we are just scratching the surface, and people can check out you really digging deep into this, thelatinonation.com, and coming up again, it's April 6th, you said, Saturday?
Saturday, you got it.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot for being with us, Tavis.
I'm a friend.